YouTube, and welcome back to my random thoughts on Thursdays. And this week I'm going to talk about how I am openly secular. So for anyone who has watched my videos at all, more than one at least, you may not be surprised to find out that, I'm openly secular, which is the latest term, although, I usually identify as atheist. Although openly secular kind of encompasses atheists, agnostics, secular humanists, just all the whole encompassing of non-religious people. Anyone who just, honestly does not believe in a creator or just isn't sure that there is one or that kind of thing. But, for those of us who just don't worship something that we don't think exists. So that's basically, the whole openly secular. Like, we don't belong to an organized religion. I don't know if it includes people who think that they're spiritual but not religious or not, because that can have a lot of connotations and meanings and that kind of thing as well. But, regardless, I am an atheist. That should not be a surprise to anyone, because I've mentioned it plenty of times on my channel. I don't know if I ever made a specific video just about that. I've done a lot about my being child-free by choice and that kind of thing. But I thought, since there's a lot of people making these openly secular videos and things, and there's this whole movement of coming out, so I'm coming out as openly secular. Like, not that I'm really coming out, because it's hardly anything that I've made a secret of at all. I've never made a secret of this, not even since I was a kid, really. I didn't have a word for what I am when I was younger, obviously, but I was about 14 or 15 when I became aware of the term atheist, and I was like, that's it, that's me right there. And I think I told my family, like, as soon as I figured out what label I needed to describe who and what I was, I told them, and they were like, oh, okay. Even though they kind of went to church still and sort of kind of, whatever. But we were never like a super religious family. We didn't like pray before we ate or that kind of thing. I mean, I was, encouraged, or I was taught that you can pray before you go to bed and that kind of thing. And I think I did for a while as a kid, but I was like, why am I doing this? It doesn't do anything. But I think one of the key moments that I remember was, because I remember I taught myself how to read when I was like 4, so I had a lot of books and things, and I was reading a lot as a child. And at one point, someone gave me a children's Bible picture book. So it had all the key Bible stories in it. You have Genesis, you have Noah's Ark, the whole story of Jesus, the Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors. I mean, just all of those stories. And I read it along with, all the other kinds of books I had. And I had a lot of books on mythologies and fantasies and that kind of thing. And I think one of my favorites, once I got past picture books and things, was Ed Grace Burroughs' Princess of Mars, which I think I didn't actually read that until I was about 8. But right around when I was about 6, I wanted to start going to church with my grandfather, because he went every Sunday. And I think my grandfather and I were out at the park, and we ran into the people from the local church. I knew the people because my grandmother always participated in the rummage sales every year, and the Christmas in July and all these kind of things. And so I'd been to the church before, I just never attended the services, because my grandmother and my mom never went. My grandfather was the only one who still went every Sunday. And the pastor said, hey, you wanna bring her along at the next service? And I was like, sure, I'd like to go. But for me, it was about going to be with my grandfather, to have more quality time with him. I didn't have a lot of quality time where he and I just hung out. We were just kind of buddies and things. And so the idea of having this special time with just me and my grandfather was like, yeah, let's go. But I still remember the very first service I attended, and I think the pastor, because he knew I was attending and stuff, he based the sermon specifically, from a more child's point of view, and took one of the more famous stories. I don't know if it was Noah's Ark or the Coat of Many Colors, or whichever one it was, story that that he used, but it was one of the more popular ones, and definitely one of the ones that was in my picture book. And I actually literally laughed out loud during the service when I realized that the adults in attendance thought that those stories in that book were real, like that they really happened, like they were real things. And I was like, wait, what? You believe in that? And I was admonished greatly for laughing and questioning and that kind of thing. And they're like, oh, this child needs to go to Sunday school. So I started Sunday school. And I don't quite remember how long I lasted, but it didn't last very long, a couple months maybe. And I got kicked out of Sunday school at the age of 6. Because I asked too many questions, because the Bible study, the Sunday school teacher, she just kind of like was asking everyone to like, here's the things in the Bible, and just take it on faith that this happened and this was real. And I was like, but wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense based on the world around me that I know today. Well, it was different back then, just have to have faith. And I wouldn't let it go, obviously, because I was like, no, I can't just have faith. You have to explain to me why that is possible. And I think the final one that got me kicked out was we were learning about Genesis and stuff. And I'm like, okay, we have Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel. Cain kills Abel. Where do all the other babies come from? First of all, did Adam and Eve have more kids? Which ultimately, many years later, I found out, yes, they actually did. When I actually was old enough to read the full Bible and things, I was like, oh, they actually did have lots of kids. They had thousands of children. Like, that poor woman. According to the Bible, Eve had thousands and thousands of babies. Like, okay, but they also lived a long time, like thousands of years, because apparently people lived longer back then, even though scientifically we've genetically found out that our ancestors lived a lot shorter. So that didn't make any sense to me either, but that's neither here nor there. So, okay, so they had other babies, but then it was like, okay, so the boys and girls that were Adam and Eve's children they were brothers and sisters, right? But they were marrying each other and having kids, and I'm like, isn't that supposed to be bad for you? And I was asking these questions at the age of 6. Don't ask me why. I kind of knew that brothers and sisters shouldn't be having babies together, but there was just something that just didn't sound right to me. And so that question got the poor Sunday school teacher so flustered, she was like, out. And the pastor talked to my family, and they were like, yeah, we just can't have her at the Sunday school anymore because she's giving bad ideas to the other students. And but after that, I just kept going to Sunday services with my grandfather, and I kept going. In fact, I even got the position when I was a little older of being the official candle lighter. So I had a little like choir robe thingy, and I would go up the aisle, I'd light the candles at the front, and then I'd snuff them out at the end. And it was interesting to be included, and I found the sermons mostly boring. Some of them were interesting. It depended on things, and some of the music was fine and stuff. But overall, I was like, I didn't quite get the point of going, other than to hang out with my grandfather. So, no surprise when my grandfather passed away when I was 11, I kind of stopped going. I was supposed to have communion, I think, when I was 12, and I was like, no, that's all right, thanks, never mind. And I was never baptized either, so I have no Christian anything about me other than the fact that I attended church for about 6 years when I was a kid. And then, since then, the only time I go to church at all anymore is if friends of mine are getting married. If they're getting married in a church, you know what, that is their prerogative, it's their choice. I respect my friends, and as long as they respect me, I respect them, and everything's fine, and I have no problem going into a church. I mean, it's not like I'm afraid that I'm going to get converted or something, because, obviously I didn't when I was a kid, so it's a fat chance it's going to happen again. And then, of course, obviously also for funerals, if someone close to me passes away and their family holds the funeral at a church, of course I'm going to go and pay my respects. I mean, there's just absolutely no qualms I have about that at all. I mean, it's out of respect for my friends, the person that I knew, or maybe it's a friend of mine who lost somebody close to them, that kind of thing. And I have the utmost respect for, they're going through a grieving process. I'm not about to go, get on a soapbox and like, no, I'm not going to go because you're in a church. And, I'm not, that's just not a cool thing to do. I know some more militant atheists out there would, on principle, not go because they don't want to step inside a church and everything. And I'm like, but why? It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to, like, instantly convert you or anything like that. You know what, if you have a close friend of yours and their family is religious and they're hurting or they're celebrating, go and comfort them or celebrate with them, and just, who cares about, the surroundings and everything. It's just another building with, sometimes with fancy windows, but, who cares? So that's basically my thing, is like, am I an atheist? I've always been an atheist. I've always questioned. I've always, never had any fear about, oh gosh, what if there is a heaven and hell, and will I go burn in hell and everything like that. I'm like, it doesn't exist. There's no scientific hypothesis that could possibly sustain or explain or anything about heaven and hell. Those things just are, those are naive human concepts that came from a time when humans didn't understand the world around them and they needed to come up with something. And these are some of the things that they came up with. And a lot of the things in the Christian religion and the Islam religion and in a lot of the existing religions today, Hinduism, etc., all evolved from pagan beliefs and other beliefs that existed before them, and everything just kind of evolved into the religions we have today. And, in 1,000 years from now, or 2,000 years from now, or whatever, the religions we have today may not exist. They may be considered mythology, and maybe some other religion exists at that point. Or maybe we'll eventually get to a point where we evolve beyond the need for religion, which, personally I would like, but, it seems to me that some people kind of need it in their lives. They need something outside of themselves to believe in because their lives are not good enough and it's just it's a thing. And you know what, if you are a person who honestly just has a need in you to have this belief, you know what, I'm not gonna tell you to not believe. I'm not, any more than I want anyone to tell me that I have to believe, that if I don't believe, something bad's gonna happen to me. Please stop trying to save my soul and all that stuff. It's too far gone at this point as it is anyway. If there is a hell, I'm going to it. There's nothing that's gonna save it now. So don't bother. Don't pray for me. Don't waste your time on any of that stuff. Don't, whatever. It's just all of that stuff. It's not gonna work on me because, you know what, unless you actually have a sound, testable scientific hypothesis that you can present to me that can prove all this stuff, and believe me, there isn't one, it's just not going to work. I'm not going to believe it, and I never will. So, that being said, that is sort of my confession, is that yes, if you didn't know it already, I'm an atheist. I'm openly secular, and I'm proud of it, and, well, I don't know. I know this whole pride thing, I don't know, maybe proud is not the right term for it, really, it really isn't. But let's just say I'm not ashamed of it. I am who I am, I believe what I believe, I don't believe what I don't believe, and that's who I am. So, what are your beliefs? Do you agree with anything I say, or whatever? I mean, I'm not asking you to try and convert me or anything, but if you want to share your thoughts on your beliefs, please leave a comment below. I'm always willing to listen, and I love a good juicy debate, as long as you don't get personal with your statements. So if you talk about what you believe, I will respect you for that. If you start pointing fingers at me and telling me that I'm a devil worshiper or a bitch or whatever it is, if you start making it personal about me, I'm gonna shut you down, because that's not cool. And that's not gonna lend itself to a good debate at all. Personal attacks just aren't cool when it comes to having a good debate. Stick to the topic, state your beliefs, I will state mine, we'll go from there. So until next time, take care. Bye-bye.